Today we're going to discuss whether GTA protagonists deserve their fate or not. It could be either good or had. Let's start. Right from the get-go, Claude showed he wasn't somebody you could trust. After being betrayed by his girlfriend Catalina and left for dead, he went on a massive revenge rampage against her and her new boyfriends. But it didn't stop there. Claude then systematically took down the Yakuza, Colombian cartel, Southside Hoods, Diablos, Leones, and pretty much every major criminal organization in Liberty City. You've got to wonder what his endgame was. Did he think he could just take over? That's really Claude's biggest problem. He was just too uncontrollable and unwilling to play by anyone's rules except his own. Sure, he got results, but he left a trail of dead bodies and burned bridges everywhere he went. The crime families tried to reel him in, giving him tasks as a trusted underling. But Claude couldn't help himself from going overboard and slaughtering half their operations in the process. No wonder they ended up turning on him eventually. By the end, Claude had made enemies of literally everyone in Liberty City. He didn't have a single ally left after his mass betrayals. Was it really worth it just for some petty revenge? So in the end, Claude got what was coming to him. Either he ended up dead, or was forced into hiding and irrelevance after his crazy rampage. An extremely powerful but tragically flawed character. Those are just my thoughts on why Claude deserved his ultimate fate of death or irrelevance in the underworld. Tommy. When we first meet Tommy, he's fresh out of prison after serving 15 years for his mob family. He gets sent down to Vice City for a simple bank robbery job that goes wrong. But Tommy quickly showed he was made of tougher stuff than your average goon. After the job went sideways, Tommy could have just cut his losses and gotten out of Vice City. But he's not one to take insults lightly. Instead, he systematically took apart every other criminal outfit in the city that had wronged him. Whether it was the Haitians, Cubans, biker gangs, you name it, Tommy obliterated anyone who had crossed him or his bosses. He wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty, and by the end, he had cemented his reputation as a total badass. But Tommy was smarter than just being a lowly street thug. Once he'd wiped out the competition, he recognized the business opportunities in Vice City's drug trade, real estate, and thriving adult entertainment worlds. Carefully avoiding territory wars with his new allies like Colonel Cortez, Tommy systematically took over businesses across the city through stevedore rings, protections rackets, you name it. He was thinking like a proper kingpin. By the end of the game, Tommy had not only survived against all odds after being set up, but he'd turned himself into one of the richest, most powerful criminal businessmen in America. He owned clubs, buildings, entire businesses across multiple states. He'd partnered with the Colombian cartel for an unlimited supply, and he'd eliminated every last enemy who could touch him in Vice City. Now that's a glow-up story. Totally deserved everything. He's a true rags-to-riches crowning story of the Grand Theft Auto games. I'll be up front. When we first meet Carl Johnson in San Andreas, he's not exactly Mr. Model Citizen. The guy's a former gangbanger who goes on a massive rampage across the state after being framed for his mom's murder. CJ does not shy away from violence, that's for sure. But as the game progresses, you realize there's more to CJ than just a hardened criminal. He's got brains, ambition, and most importantly, hustle. CJ takes on every opportunity he can to make money, from trucking to racing to heists and more. The dude knows the importance of stacking that paper. At the same time, CJ is fiercely loyal to his gang, the Grove Street families, along with his friends and family members like Sweet and Ryder. He works tirelessly to reunite the fragmented group and re-establish their power. You can't knock his dedication to his crew. As things escalate with the corrupt cops and rival gangs, CJ transforms into a high-level criminal kingpin overnight. He gets his hands into every illicit business imaginable: drugs, arms trafficking, biker rackets. But the key difference with CJ versus a guy like Tommy Vercetti? He keeps building legitimate businesses and investing on the side. That forward-thinking mindset is what allows CJ to truly make it big in the end. He not only destroys all his enemies, but gets wildly rich through his investment portfolio across San Andreas. From a car locksmith to a casino mogul, the guy knows diversification and building an empire. So while CJ started as just a hood kid seeking revenge, his ruthlessness, street smarts, and business acumen ultimately allowed him to transcend the criminal underworld. Deserved the good fate. Aw man, Niko Bellic really got dealt a rough hand by the end of GTA 4. This guy had been through absolute hell even before we meet him, surviving the Yugoslav wars, getting betrayed by his squad, having to become a cold-blooded killer just to survive. Niko arrives in Liberty City hoping to start fresh and live the American dream, away from his haunted past. But of course, things don't go smoothly for the poor guy. He immediately gets roped back into a life of crime by his cousin Roman and shady underworld figures like Ray Bulgarin. I'll give Niko this, though. Despite his efficiency as a hardened criminal, he's not just some mindless psychopath. We see he genuinely cares about family, with his main motivation being to secure a better life for Roman. He forms real bonds with allies like Little Jacob and Brucey too. Niko also has a strong moral code, or at least tries to. Multiple times he passes up getting revenge or settling scores the violent way if he deems it dishonorable. You can see the guy is carrying deep emotional burdens about his past killings. So by the end, when Niko is forced into this lose-lose situation of having to kill either Roman's son, Mallory, or his closest friend like Kate or gym companion depending on the ending, it's just straight up tragic for him. After everything Niko went through, the bloodshed, near-death experiences, efforts to go straight, he still ends up losing someone he truly cares about and loves through no real fault of his own. It's honestly pretty messed up. Niko may have embraced a life of violence, but you can't say he didn't try his best to protect his family and find a legal way out. For him to get punished by losing a loved one after that harrowing journey feels extremely unfair and cruel. The guy went to America for a fresh start and got sucked right back into the same cycles of death and tragedy he could never escape. After gutting through all of that darkness, Niko absolutely deserved to ride off into the sunset with his crew still intact, not burying another close friend or family member. Rockstar really didn't give this tortured soul the break he deserved. Undeserved bad ending, in my opinion. Luis Lopez. From the glimpses we get in The Ballad of Gay Tony, Luis was basically just a hustling guy from the Northwood Heights neighborhood trying to make it. He gets roped into being a personal bodyguard and all-around problem solver for the crazy nightclub mogul Tony Prince. But Luis takes it all in stride, handling every ridiculous crisis and violent situation Tony gets them wrapped up in. From clubbing rampages to payback hits to an actual zombie outbreak. Through it all, Luis stays level-headed and consistently gets the job done without complaint. You get the sense that deep down, Luis is a pretty chill, good-natured dude. He's not some unhinged maniac reveling in the criminal lifestyle like others in the GTA universe. Luis is just trying to make an honest living, support his mom, and hopefully get out of the game eventually. That's why I think Luis deserves to just kick back and enjoy himself, after surviving all the madness working for Tony Prince. The way I see it, he probably took his cut of Tony's riches as a nice little nest egg to retire on. With his smarts, connections, and experience handling high-stakes corporate drama, Luis could easily transition into some lower-key private security or business management role too. Just live that mellow, low-profile life he always wanted away from the spotlight. So while we don't know Luis's definitive fate, I like to imagine him just chilling out on a beach somewhere, cold drink in hand. No more crazy antics or gunfights to worry about. Well deserved. Johnny was set up to be this total badass anti-hero in The Lost and Damned. The dude was the loyal, no-nonsense vice president of the infamous Lost MC biker gang. He put in serious work to try and get the club back on its feet after all the rough patches. Johnny proved himself as a legit threat too. Whether it was fearlessly taking on the Angels of Death, sticking it to Billy's greedy ambitions, or battling corrupt government forces, Klebitz always held it down for his brothers. He got his hands dirty but had a moral code. So for him to get unceremoniously wasted by Trevor in a cheap plot device at the beginning of GTA 5, that was some straight disrespect from Rockstar. They did Johnny dirty as hell just to set up Trevor's crazy persona. After everything Johnny survived and sacrificed for the Lost MC, just for the writers to just have him taken out like a chump by some random psycho was an insult. He deserved to go out in a much more impactful, badass way befitting his character. It really felt like they nerfed Johnny hardcore just to make Trevor seem like an unstoppable force. But it undercut all the buildup and mystique around Klebitz being this legendary, battle-hardened biker veteran. For him to die so pointlessly was lame. Johnny carried himself as a loyal soldier and vicious protector of biker code. To get smoked in a split second with no fanfare or payoff to his character arc? Awful writing decision, plain and simple. He was too compelling of an anti-hero to get done that dirty. Undeserved. Michael. Throughout the game, we see Michael consistently trying to atone for his past mistakes and build a better life for his dysfunctional family. Despite being drawn back into crime by his former partner and the psycho Trevor, Michael's main motivation is securing a good future for his kids. he goes to incredible lengths to protect his family too. From the harrowing Gulties with the insane Merryweather mercenaries to dealing with the duplicitous FIB agents. Michael takes bullets, handles impossible heist scenarios, and gets buried alive, all in service of getting self-made justice. Perhaps most importantly, though, Michael formed a real mentorship and bond with Franklin. Despite their age gap, he saw Franklin as a voice of reason and better path than treading Trevor's lunacy. Michael actively tried steering the younger man right. So for the good ending to have Michael senselessly gunned down by the very protege he was trying to guide, it completely undermined all the struggles and growth he went through to make up for his bad past. After undertaking all those insane jobs and risking his life countless times, Michael deserved to ride off into that sunset a free man. To be killed in cold blood by Franklin, the very person he tried saving from the crazy criminal life, is just downright disrespectful writing. It spits in the face of Michael's entire journey of trying to break old habits, make honest money, and do right by his loved ones after a lifetime of selfishness. For it all to end with him dying afraid and alone, discarded like a loose end? Nah. He earned better than that. Michael was selfish and flawed for sure, but ultimately grew to be a solid mentor, father figure, and friend by GTA 5's climax. He should have gotten to live that simple ranch life he wanted, not be betrayed by the only person he thought he reached. Michael's death at Franklin's hand was unearned and improper closure for such a complex, layered protagonist. Undeserved. I'm going to be honest. Trevor Phillips is one of the most unhinged, chaotic forces of nature in the entire GTA universe, and I think the writers were right to give him the grisly death he deserved in ending A. From the moment we meet this guy, it's clear Trevor is just completely off the rails mentally. He's a full-blown psychopathic killer with absolutely no filter or moral boundaries. Dude gets his kicks from murdering, torturing, and general mayhem in the most grotesque ways possible. I mean, Trevor's rampages and uncontrollable anger put him in the same category as the total lunatics like Catalina or Eddie Lowe from past GTA games. He's just an unpredictable, irredeemable monster that you can never fully trust or reason with. Sure, you could argue Trevor had some warped friend loyalties to Michael and tried looking out for his crew in Sandy Shores, but his good qualities get outweighed 100-fold by his sadistic tendencies and the sheer body count of innocent people he leaves piled up. This freak flies off the handle at the slightest provocation into psychopathic tantrums. He's a ticking time bomb that's somehow even more deranged than all the criminal maniacs in previous GTA titles combined. So while it sucks for him to get unceremoniously burnt alive in that heist gone wrong, I think Trevor honestly deserved no less than that gnarly demise. He was simply too uncontrolled, volatile, and bat-spit crazy to ever reform or find peace. Franklin. You know, out of the three protagonists, Franklin is definitely the one who earned that big win at the end of GTA 5. This dude just seems destined for better things from the jump. Right from the start, you can tell Franklin has goals beyond just being a small-time hood in Los Santos. He's busting his ass doing repo work, saving up thoughtfully, and has clear aspirations to go legit as a businessman or entrepreneur one day. The kid's got vision. But what's dope about Franklin is that he pairs that future-minded mentality with serious street smarts and loyalty too. He knows how to handle himself and not be taken for a fool, whether taking on the Ballas or hustling with shady figures like Devin Weston. At the same time, Franklin values his day ones like Lamar and Tanisha. He keeps it real with his aunt, shows respect to OGs like Tanya, and looks out for the families. Dude has integrity in the hood. So when he gets roped into Michael's crazy scores, you can't help but respect how Franklin rises to every increasingly ridiculous occasion. From heists to narrowly escaping the FIB to handling unhinged psychos like Trevor. Franklin exemplifies that strategic thinking and unshakable composure that the hustlers dream of. He's ruthless when needed, but also knows when to be diplomatic and make rational choices, like in the finale. That combination of ambition, principles, calculated thinking, and grit is why Franklin deserved to drive off into that sunset as the biggest winner after the dust settled in Los Santos. Dude displayed all the tools to thrive in whatever illegal ventures or straight business moves. So, in my eyes, Franklin undoubtedly earns that lavish, successful lifestyle he could now embrace. After putting in the work, out-surviving the chaos around him, and staying solid, he set himself up for true entrepreneurial success down the line. He deserved true rags to riches, and we are done. Which protagonist you think absolutely didn't deserve the ending he got? I want you to comment that down. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel. That would really mean a lot. Thanks.